Hey everybody, welcome back to the Short Free Games Talk podcast. I'm your host Chrissy.
And I'm your co-host Clyde.
This is our fourth podcast
Woohoo!
where we talk about short free games. However, this week I don't really think they're that short.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, like some of these games kind of took a while.
Compared to the ones we've been playing.
Yeah,
Well, Ephemere takes forever.
Ever. Well, yeah. But you can decide to stop after 5 minutes and feel it. Just like, what's that game you're always... Monday Night Combat only takes like 10 minutes, but then you play it 100 times and how you end up putting... Anyway, some of these took a really long time. So the first game we're going to talk about is Wilbur Park. Big game came out this week. Everybody was talking about it.
It kind of is. Yeah. I think fans of Hernhand... We're actually kind of excited about
it was like the big release in this genre, or in this, small games thing.
It's kind of weird how that is possible, right?
Yeah, but it's funny, because the person who made this game is sort of like Jay Clover is sort of like the Catamites, where, you talk...
They've achieved some amount of status by... constantly putting out good quality shit.
In our house, because you talk about them all the time. And I only know, what you talk about. So I've been avoiding Jay Clover games the same way I've been avoiding the Catamites games. So this was my first one that I played.
And it's a weird one to start with.
Yeah.
Because most of his work is 2D.
Oh yeah, and you said there was a lot of shooting, too.
Yeah, there's typically a lot of violence. Very violent sounds and
oh yeah, I did play your Game Jam Jay Clover game. Is that what they're like?
Yeah, but typically with more guns.
So,
well, I mean, obviously, I'm a little biased on that. Of course, that's what I think it's like, because I was trying to clone this game.
So tell us about Wilbur Park.
It's a 3D game. It's a 3D Unity game, and a lot of the textures are really the resolution's very low. Some real world pictures are used for some of the textures. It feels the vast majority of it feels like nighttime. I just realized something when I said that. Is the first time you really see daylight when you come out of that building and you hear the wind?
I thought that it was like a full day or something.
What do you mean?
You start off at night and then the sun comes out. So you can see things in the dark and in the light in the sky?
That just occurred to me just now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's kind of like now that I'm thinking about it, it's like you start off at nighttime, and then you're kind of going on this journey, and then there's a moment where it's pretty much daybreak, and that's when you hit the desert. That just occurred to me just now.
Oh, I figured... Well, I don't really know why. But I assumed it was so you can use your ability to look in far distances in different sky environments, which is day and night. You can see different things at night than you can in the day.
Well, for me, now that I'm thinking about it, it's similar to long nights as all-nighters, staying up all night and lots of things happening during that night, especially when I was early out of high school, and you'd have friends with cars, or you would have a car, and
we were just talking about lock-ins.
Yeah, and you might go to, that's not really what I'm thinking about so much as going to open house and smoking massive quantities of cigarettes and having heart-to-hearts with 3 friends and feeling like you're the only person on the road. You're the only group of people on the road except for cops. And you know what I'm saying?
Is that what the experience is like in retrospect of being in that world all night?
You mean Wilbur Park?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it kind of gave me a similar feeling. Only in this case, you're alone, right? So, but
okay, I'm gonna take over here, because you didn't explain the setting very well.
You're the host.
Yeah. This is sort of like these games that we've been talking about a little bit, where you feel like it's an environmental art game, except for the difference is you have a path. Each area you go in is like a square with different things in it that is art that's a box, but it'll be a box with a frog on it.
It very much feels like those shoebox dioramas.
Yes.
Where you have an entry point and an exit point opposite the entry point.
Yes.
And you're moving through that diorama.
Correct. And there are structures in it that represent real life things. Like there'll be a tree, but it's a paper tube looking thing with the ball at the top, and then there will be a pattern drawn on it. And patterns are really interesting. And the fun as you traverse through it, you have the ability to look at things through binoculars. So when you're outside, there's lots of stars and things and cars moving by and satellites that you can get a close-up image. And I've been thinking, okay, it was very, I know I won't do that again. It was very aggravating for me how difficult it was to use the binoculars.
They required much finesse.
But then I was thinking about it a lot this week. And I realized...
And that's what real binoculars are like.
Or telescope. Have you ever tried to use a telescope?
Exactly.
It's like a nightmare.
That was exactly what happened to me when I was playing. I played before Chrissy did, and then I watched Chrissy play. And so when I was playing the first time, I was trying to... I saw in like the second scene, there's this fast-moving satellite, and I'm like, ooh, I want to see what that is, because I had already had some success at looking at some of the planets, and just being surprised by that there was a texture up in the sky was neat to me. And so I started trying to look at these satellites that are moving a little bit, and saw that there was text on one of them. And I'm like, on the fastest moving one, and I'm going, I gotta read that text. I gotta know what it says. So I'm trying to follow it with that mouse control. That's so finicky. And I was getting, I wasn't getting angry, frustrated, but I was getting frustrated. And I was thinking, oh, like, why would it be this way? And then I'm like, you know what? This reminds me a lot of when I was trying to look at Mars with a pair of binoculars in my backyard.
Or with a telescope, you can never find the thing. You're pointed right at it, but it doesn't matter.
You got to use the little one on top.
Yeah, it's so frustrating. It's the same thing as using a microscope. It's like you're never going to find it. It's never there.
It's kind of interesting to think about scope based off of that ability of navigation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, never mind. I guess it's jumping ahead too much.
Okay, so as you go through this world, I wouldn't really say there's anything that you're doing. You are just pretty much
exploring.
Exploring
and
this,
using your binoculars.
And the other, for me, the incredible part of this game is the sound. The sound is amazing, and as you walk through, it's localized. So you'll hear different things at different times, and it's related to what you're near a lot of the time. What really got me is once you're in the desert and you hear all those flies with the dead things, and it's a lot of mechanical sounds.
I thought the sound in the gardenish area at the very beginning, that was my favorite. There were because I was in there for a long time trying to read the text on that satellite. I was in there for a long time, and it felt like I was in a natural environment because they might have been repeating, but I think that there might have been multiple audio tracks of different length, or maybe some sort of algorithm that was like randomly firing them off at different times or something. Because I was in there for a long time, and probably like, I don't know, maybe 3 to 5 minutes, and then I heard an animal noise that I had not heard yet, and I had to stop looking through my binoculars and like look around just to see where it was.
Near. Yeah, and it was fun to try and find different things in the environment based off what I was listening to. So I found the water because of the water sound. And, the thing that got me about this game is that it's been similar to the other kind of games that we've been playing a lot of.
Where you walk around aimlessly?
Yeah, that I've been kind of complaining about. But it was a different feeling in this game. And I think it was because there was a path that really helped. And then the other thing that happened was you're going through and each environment changes some.
Yeah.
So eventually you get to a city. and there is like clothes hanging from lines from the buildings being close together in a club, and you hear people, you know, inside the club and
Reveling.
yeah, and there's air conditioners and a bike parked up, and I thought, this is what I like about being in this environment is getting to figure out what a person associates with the city.
Yeah, especially in the game of this scope where there's only, in the city scene, for instance, there's the building texture,
Mm-hmm.
there's the people texture,
Mm-hmm.
there's the cafe texture,
Mm-hmm.
there's the air conditioning units,
Yeah.
I believe.
Yeah, and there's a lot of those things that are connecting the buildings together that are really close. There's alleys.
But when you say a lot of them, you mean like one or two types, right?
No, I mean there's two buildings next to each other and an alley between it, and there might be 5 of those hanging between it. And then there's another
But
path.
they're all of one type.
Right,
So.
and some of them are laundry, and some of them are just, I guess, laundry lines with no laundry on it.
And then they're like trash cans.
I don't remember.
But my point is that there's only a couple of types of items. It's almost like an object palette.
Mm-hmm.
Or an item palette. It's like, you know, think of an alleyway or try to represent an alleyway, and you only get 10 objects to put in it.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to see which objects are chosen.
Yeah. Yeah, and so after we hit there, and I realized that each room could potentially be a recognizable place, I tried to play the game of what do they associate with this place.
What was an example besides the city of a recognizable place?
There's the computer room.
Okay.
Yeah. There was the desert, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
I kept trying to name rooms as we were.
Oh, that's interesting.
You remember when I was trying to guess, like, what is this room when we went into it? And
No,
you were saying, I thought this was...
I didn't
there
put that
was
together.
the greenhouse.
Oh, yeah, the botanical
garden.
Yeah.
Yes.
Man, I love that room. That was a good room.
Yeah.
And then you went downstairs and I was like, I didn't even know this was here.
Yeah. So that part was a really... I think having a path helped me get over there's nothing to do, because I felt like there was... Maybe it's having a beginning and an end that helps me, and a path represents a beginning and an end.
And the frequency at which those beginnings and ends come, right? It was like walking through rooms of an arts installation. As soon as you tire of one, it's not like... Well, with the exception of the desert scene.
Yeah.
As soon as you
you're in the desert forever.
As soon as you tire of one, you're out of it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it was fun to go up to everything.
And they're all different.
Yeah.
And going back to that object palette idea, it's like, some of the objects are shared, but some of the objects are shared between different scenes, but when it's done so infrequently that it's noticeable. Like, it was really novel for me to see the texture on the tree blossoms be a texture I had seen in the first 2 rooms looking through my binoculars at a planet.
Oh, I see.
Well, I mean, I don't know I'm not sure where I saw that planet. Don't hold me to that. But I totally saw that texture on a planet.
And then there's a room you go in and it's all candle wax, and the lighting is so good, and the wax looks so good.
The wax room was really interesting because we couldn't figure out what it was at first, and
I thought it was like metal mineral, you know.
Yeah. I described it as waxy, and then that gave us the clue.
Yeah, and then we saw the wicks.
And then it was interesting to see a couple of black cylinders had been created.
Clyde was obsessed with those black cylinders coming out. I don't know.
Okay, well, let me tell you why.
Okay, I'm ready.
Imagine you're making this game.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, hey, this white candle will make a great texture for a room. I'm going to put it on the walls or whatever. And then you put it on the walls, and you see that, I've included the wick. The wick is like a sore point. Right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's a flaw.
Okay.
So one option is to clone it out. You know, remove the flaw, make it more uniform. The other option is to go, I guess since there's wicks in the picture, I need to put wicks in the environment. You know, it's kind of like...
I don't think you're right, and usually I do. But this time, I think that the person who made this game wanted the players to know that they were candles, and the only way you could do that would be to include the wicks.
Mm.
But then, I don't know why they
let's talk about a candle room then. Why? What is the meaning of a candle
I can't
room?
remember what was in there other than the candles.
Fans. There were like HVAC fans.
Maybe it was a sort of boiler room, but it wasn't on fire right then. I don't know.
What you got me thinking about what is the meaning of a candle room? I'm sorry.
Well, you know, there's some firebugs in the world. I'm not one of them.
I do love candles. It's true.
Yeah. No, not me.
Um,
But okay, so do you want to talk about what you like, or do you have anything you want to talk specifically about this game?
I really enjoyed many aspects of this game.
Such as?
Well, looking at the satellites was by far my favorite thing, and it's the first thing I did.
Mm-hmm.
I also enjoyed the README file said that it was somewhat inspired by going out of the boundaries of games,
Mm-hmm.
which made me think as I was playing through, ooh, I'm totally gonna be able to sneak out of the boundaries of this game, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, yeah.
So I was looking for opportunities everywhere, and it made me appreciate the game in a different way. Like in the botanical gardens, when you were jumping up or jumping through it or something, I was like, isn't it weird how these leaves have collision to them? Because we just went through there's brush in the game that has no collision to it. And so I'm going is this is this a secret ladder? And when I went up the spiral platform, you remember the spiral platform?
Yeah.
When I went up that, when I was coming back down, I was like, oh, I bet I can jump. I bet if I do this right, I can jump over that wall. And I was convinced, and I looked around to see which angle would be best to jump so I could make it over that barrier wall. And then I tried it and failed. And
yeah, I tried to jump over the wall a lot behind that cafe place. I was like, I'm gonna find where you can trip off this level and take a picture before I climb. No.
Yep.
Didn't happen.
But that was a neat way to appreciate the game.
Yeah.
And it just, I don't know. And plus those walls, they're what would you say, 8 feet tall?
Mm-hmm.
I guess I'm a foot higher than you are, so it's probably 9 feet for you or 7 feet for you. But it was 8 feet for me.
I'm not saying anything,
And,
but I'm thinking it.
And when I was looking at those walls, they're not they're not an equivalent of 20 feet, and so when you're on ground level, you can't see anything outside of it. But if you get any amount of height at any point in any of the scenes, you can kind of peek over enough to see that there's stuff out there.
Yeah, it's a whole world. It's so interesting when you get high enough and you see everything that's happening outside of the space that you're in. It is an entire world. It's so interesting.
A whole new world.
Yeah, you have the traffic in the sky. You have the actual stars in the satellites. You have the bridges and machines out there.
Would you describe it as a dazzling new place?
An exciting point of view. No one to tell us no. Anyway, after we finished playing this game, I went outside to get a piece of wood.
Yeah. After Chrissy finished playing this game, which takes what, an hour?
Yeah, I looked at every single thing.
She went outside to get a piece of wood to put in the wood stove, and she came back in.
This is my story. I can't believe you're telling me.
And she came back in and she told me about this. I thought it was great.
So I'm getting a piece of wood, and it's completely dark outside. We live in the middle of nowhere, so you can see all the stars. So it's completely dark outside, and you see all the stars, and then a truck goes by, and then the dog barks on the side. Rah, rah, rah. All sounds become localized, and it's totally like you're still in the game. And I haven't had that experience since Katamari. It's been a really long time. Me and Clyde used to play a lot of Tony Hawk, and during that time, it was really hard not to, when we went anywhere, think that we were still in the game and look at every environment on how we're gonna.
What you could do a trick off of.
It's just an extension of you're not doing it intentionally. Your brain is just still working in that level. But as soon as I came back inside, everything was back to normal. It was really interesting to have
that is fantastic that the game could give you that experience.
Yeah, that's what I really enjoyed, the after effects of hearing.
The residual, yeah.
Yeah, And a lot of it is sound. The sound really got... All these games we're talking about this week, the sounds were really amazing. I'm really glad that so many people are putting so much energy into their sounds. Do you want to talk about anything else before I start talking about?
Nope.
Way to Go?
Nope.
I'm going to go right into Way to Go because it's similar in a way that it is an environmental...
It's very path-based.
Tell us about it.
Way to Go is a game where it appears that, they took a 360 camera on a walk through the woods, and then you are basically scrubbing through the footage on the single path. And so what that means is you're basically in a 360 picture that you can look around at any point, but as you move forward, it's advancing time, because that's the time that the camera was on that spot. And if you look down, you see a costumed figure that has a black box on their head, and I guess, yeah, they just play with that. They play with it, and I don't know what else to say.
Okay, let me tell you about this game. Like Clyde says, you're walking through the woods on a path. You can look around 360. I didn't even realize that until halfway through the game and finally couldn't stand it anymore and he told me. But you can walk, you can run, you can jump.
And look around.
You can fly, and you can look at small items and it's like ants or a bird.
Flying happens whenever you look up. Because, I forgot to say, you have a little avatar. And the avatar is slightly animated so that it'll move to wherever you're looking. So it's a really strange perspective. You're in a third-person perspective, but there's a black box creature beneath you at all times, because that's the camera person. And
but you're only going to see them if you're looking around.
Yeah, but I love that they become a character,
leaving out the most important aspect of this game,
and which is that when you jump, it makes a
when
sound.
You run, you make a sound. When you walk, you make a sound. When you jump, you make a sound. When you fly, you make a sound. When you're looking at an item and you press the mouse button, you make a sound. And you can control this. So, as you are traversing, you can determine your notes, or you can try.
The way I thought it was working was kind of like a Jack in the Box.
Oh yeah.
So if you run, it's going ba 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 ba, and then if you're walking, it's going ba 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 ba. So you can kind of like mix them.
But it's not that tune. But then you can add in the jumping.
Yeah, and to
variate.
Often it was a bassy kind of.
Yeah.
Like a piano hit kind of thing.
So this game kind of reminds me of what we've been talking about too, an environmental explorer. But again, with the path, it really gave it a sense of having an end, so I felt comfortable looking around.
You can't even go backwards.
Yeah, you can't even... I tried. And it's interesting because it's not just you're in the woods. Sometimes it's a photorealistic version of the woods.
Right.
Sometimes it's a colored neon
drawing
of the woods. And then you have a different environment too.
There's a like a meadow.
Yeah. Yeah, so your environment... But everything... And then you're near some water. Everything changes very slightly. And the tones or manipulation isn't that big. But there's something about being able to manipulate it while you're traversing it.
Yeah, I think it, sound is a dimension in this case, right? And we have expectations for being able to manipulate something in games at pretty much any point. We want to make sure that the game is responding to us. And so when something is taken away, such as the ability to move backwards, or if there is something that makes you feel kind of limited, such as you're limited to only camera movement on a single path and relative speed, then it's nice to have an extra dimension of manipulation added in,
Mm-hmm.
such as being able to jump in order to create sounds or click on something to make a sound. I think that makes a huge difference. It makes, I mean, you were testing your abilities with the sound for like the first two scenes.
Mm-hmm.
You were just completely immersed in the sound.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it was largely looking around and just the the word that keeps on coming to my mind is personal. The first scene when you're going through those woods, those are actual woods, and
It's like photoreal, like they went through a video with a video camera.
yeah, and I'm thinking, of the hiking paths that we take, and I'm going, it would be so cool to have one of the hiking paths that we're familiar with, because when you take the same hiking path through the woods multiple times, it's almost a creature you get to know. There's a familiarness that's really comforting.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought that it was so neat to have that ability to scrub through that so many times just because it's in a digital format, and for it to offer what it offers, because you have the 360 viewpoint, which is probably the biggest deal, but also
I was so not interested in a 360 view. Once you told me I could do it, and I did it once, that was it.
When I say it's the biggest deal, what I mean is it's the thing that seems to separate a picture from.
Oh, I see. I see. You're not just walking forward on a picture.
Yeah. I was telling Chrissy, this is the thing that's gotten me the most excited about the Oculus Rift in a while. Not because it is virtual reality, but because it seems like it's got the same kind of capability in this game. And the ability to examine something on a small scope at any given moment creates a sense of the world being of many scopes, right? Just like if you're going on, sometimes we'll be going on a hike and I'll find a single leaf that has a nice pattern on it, and when we examine that leaf for a little while, once we start walking again, it makes everything seem bigger, and you start extrapolating of, just like that one leaf, there are these many leaves that have all distinct patterns. Holy shit, how is this even possible? Kind of feeling of sublimity.
And I like, usually when you looked at the small items, after you looked at about 5 of them, they start repeating. Usually I'm like, oh, okay, whatever. But what I liked about it in this time is that I didn't feel like I had to stop and look at anything. I just wanted to run through the environment and try and manipulate the sound the whole time. I didn't want to have to worry about that, but knowing it was there and me being an optimizing freak, I had to check everything and make sure I saw everything that there was, there. But once I realized it was repeating, it was just so nice to be able to run through.
Right. It is invigorating, isn't it? To just,
like you're really running through the woods.
Because the music speeds up too, right?
Yeah. And I'm trying to manipulate the music the whole time, and then you can click the mouse, and you're kind of taking screenshots of your avatar, so you get to see the path that you went on, and then you get to try.
Gosh, they did so many cool little one-off tricks in that game.
Yeah, it is a really nice visual, auditory combination game.
Yeah. Tell me about how you feel about the NPCs in that game.
Oh, I didn't care. The only thing I cared about in that game was the sound. You know it.
So, for me, the NPCs were a huge benefit. The meadow scene in particular. Well, no, the first time you see an NPC that's not the cameraman, it was so exciting for me. It was the difference between going on a hike alone and going on a hike with someone else.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's like, they're I don't know what it is about it, but there was just something. I don't know why I liked it so much, but just having someone kind of like playing with me on the side. I could look over to the left and completely ignore them if I wanted to.
Right.
But I was so fascinated with their little performance. And there's just so... Man, it was awesome. It was awesome. And
Why
then,
did
and
you
then
want
when I
me...
was going through
Oh.
the meadow, having those... It was like we were a flock. Oh, it felt so amazing. I want more of the... Like, this game is a tech demo, you know what I mean? Like, I've never...
No, I don't know.
I've never seen this technique used for a game of the 360 camera on one single path with performers around you. But it just seems like it's got so much potential. Can you imagine playing this game if it was like a protest?
To
Like,
what?
of anything. Like,
I don't understand.
if you were in a crowd going down a city street, like,
You
in
know,
this game.
what's interesting is I can see what you're saying with the Oculus now. I was not immersed. Even though it was in a regular looking environment that was video camera-y and you're running through it, I never felt like there was another person there. And then I was in the woods and we were like running through together. That's the difference, I guess, between us in a way. So for me, that wouldn't work. The only reason I played that game was because I could manipulate the sound. So it's really, I didn't understand what you were saying before. It's really interesting to find out that it was you having a group experience in the woods.
Yeah. Yeah, it was awesome. It was, it was so cool in that from that perspective.
Okay.
Can we take a break?
Yeah. Back from break.
We are now back from the break.
Why, when I came home, you were all jacked up about the game and wanted me to play it. So, of course, when you pick out games for me, I always have this question. So you should always be prepared for it. Why did you want me to play this game?
I don't remember. But if I was to imagine now...
After this conversation.
That's
cheating.
It's because I think the day before we had actually gone through the woods.
Yeah.
So that had something to do with it. And the other... For me, this is a tech demo, and it's a incredibly well done tech demo because it's more than a tech demo. But
yeah, I've never played a game like this before.
I've never played a game that's used this technique before, and I thought it was just so novel and so interesting. It's so surprising, and then on top of that, to have it turn into fucking Circus Soleil is like.
What do you mean?
I can't get over the performance, like.
The performance?
Yeah, I know I'm making it sound like it's... I'm sorry, everybody. I'm making it sound like more than it actually is. But there's basically costumed creatures.
Is it because there's a guy with the box head that's with you?
Well, yeah, and the way he's, like, kind of playfully dancing behind the tree.
Oh, I didn't really 360 that much. I didn't know he did stuff.
And then in the meadow, we're all, like, running through like when we're in a fucking Animal Collective video. And
yeah, I remember when you said that.
And I'm like, we're having such a good time, guys, aren't we? Like, it was so exciting for me. It was just really exciting. And I want more of it. If you gave me like, oh man.
If you gave Clyde a whole bunch of creatures in a meadow dancing and he got to be one of them.
One of the things that I kept on thinking was I need to play through this again because how would they be able to resist to, for instance, put, 3 costumed figures on the other side of the river in that first scene, or the creek? Things that are far off in the distance that you're not going to see. Or like having someone release a balloon at the end of the meadow path, right? And then you don't examine it until you look up. Yeah.
Different strokes.
There's something I wanted to mention about this game, and I'm realizing there's actually... Okay, so, the binoculars in Wilbur Park, to see satellites, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of...
Or you can see anything, not just satellites.
Okay, yeah. But it's kind of like you're saying, I'm going to use the main mechanic I'm going to use here is going to be something that changes the scope of the place where I'm experiencing it, right? Way to Go also does the same thing.
Oh yeah, how?
Well, because you can examine like the ants on a leaf.
Oh yeah.
Or
or a bird in a tree.
Or when you go into the abstract place, you examine like these abstract
bacteria.
Patterns. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. You go down instead of up.
Yeah. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, that is interesting. Lots of looking at details up close.
Yeah, I guess we've already discussed what you think about what that does to the game, or would I do it?
You know, here's something I didn't point out in Wilbur Park, that I loved all of the patterns. The patterns are really cool.
Oh yeah, the textures are really awesome.
Yeah, but it's interesting because when you look at them with the binoculars, they're a mess.
Yeah.
So it's so fun to see how good things look from
like
afar.
the city buildings especially.
No, I'm thinking about the leaves. Versus up close is such an interesting effect. Unfortunately, the binoculars made me motion sick. So I couldn't do a lot of that. Oh, the Oculus, you're going to be in there like Warcrafting it up. You're not going to come out to eat. And I'm going to be like,
oh, I'm going to be hanging out with my friends in the meadow.
Yeah, right. It's like an Animal Collective video, Chrissy, and I'll be throwing up.
Do you want to talk about cart?
Of course I do. So do you want to start talking about it and let me interrupt you, or do you want me to start? You're the one that played it all the way through.
Yeah. Okay, so Barnack has a game called Cart. It's part of the... You were going to say something?
Ephemere.
Oh, yeah.
I just wanted to point out, we've already pointed at one of these person's games. Yeah.
Yeah, I actually ended up playing this because I saw a tweet about Share Cart 1000 or whatever. There's going to be a game jam for games that are made to use the same save file as other games. And it seemed interesting and fascinating. And as I was looking through the list of games that have already been made that are compatible with it, I saw a Barnack game and I was like, oh, I'll play that because I'm familiar with Barnack. And then, so I go into this game and it's a top-down shooter where you can go in any direction, in any compass direction.
It starts as, it's not A, it starts as.
Yeah.
If you say it's A, it kind of refers that this is the game.
Yeah. So you have this little sprite that's an interesting colored pattern that's asymmetrical, and you're shooting other little animal enemies. It's kind of like Crystal Quest, but in a maze. You have little bullets. I didn't know that you had a laser. I'm still not sure if I had the laser.
I'm sure you had the laser. You didn't read. I don't read anything about what a game's about before I start.
So you're
There's a mouse. It shows a picture of a mouse with a little click.
Yeah. So it's kind of like Gauntlet or something with
No, it's not like Gauntlet.
Well, you get the idea. How would you describe that, Chrissy?
A nightmare. You're a thing in a maze that has to avoid bullets.
Yep.
I thought it was like Pac-Man.
Yeah.
You're kind of running on a maze. You're avoiding the bad things.
Yep.
You want to collect dead bodies to level up. I couldn't do it.
Yep. So it's kind of rough. It feels like everything's made out of paper-ish.
There's a lot of, the sound is very...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The sound of getting hit is the sound of hitting something with your car, which I loved.
Yeah, you did.
It is, when you get hit, it the first couple of times I got hit, it was like, oh shit, I should have checked what was behind me because I just backed into something, was the sound I heard. And I loved that. I thought it's something primal.
You heard a lot of that when I was playing.
So, yeah, the sounds are really interesting, and that's the game at first. And there's 4, I believe, icons up in the top right-hand corner.
There's a little map in the corner that tells you where you're
I
going.
did not have a map.
You had
I did
a
not
map.
have a map. I didn't have a map.
I guess that's what this share file. Imagine me doing quotations.
I think that is.
Share
I think
file
that is what it is.
about.
I think I earned that map for you, for your second playthrough.
Oh, that's very generous of you.
Yes, it was. So you kind of have this idea that there is some sort of an objective when you discover one of the emblems on the ground.
That never crossed my mind.
and so when you fight the enemies away from the area long enough to kind of get absorbed into the sigil, you go.
What's a sigil?
It's like a symbol, a magical symbol.
Oh yeah.
So when you get absorbed into the sigil, it turns into a 3D game. and I'm not sure if you can do these out of order or not, but the first one is
amazing.
Again, because of the sounds, right?
Yes.
Talk about the sounds.
This game, okay. So I'm like, okay, we're shooting people. Who cares? I don't care about these kind of games. And then you go into this world that has the floor is like a black and white kind of swirl pattern, and you have all these kind of...
It's like you're on ice.
Yeah. And you have these rock-looking, almost egg-shaped things, and you hit them, and you go backwards like bumper cars.
They actually look like the old minerals from Rust.
And you make a tone. And then there's these tall things that make a different tone, and I was trying to get trapped in between them because you fly when you hit one to...
Yeah, you're like a pinball getting bumpers or something.
And the tones are so nice that I spent a lot of time...
They are pleasant.
...trying to make tones, manipulate them in between. But that's not the point, evidently.
Because I was unaware that I had a laser in the hub world kind of overview scene. I wasn't using the mouse at all for the game. So I go into that world and I see this like rock-ish thing on the bottom of the screen floating about, and then I realize I can navigate around it, and then I see these pillar-ish things that I can go around. I'm like, oh, this is interesting. I don't know really what to do. I think I accidentally hit the mouse and realized that I could actually be looking around.
And then you didn't know there was a floor.
Yeah, so then I find out that there's a floor. And then after spending a little bit of time in there, you discover that there are 2D sprites that look different than the other objects in that world. And if you collide with them, you collect them and it gives you a pleasant pitch.
Okay, this is where we get into spoiler alerts.
This is the only puzzle I'm going to spoil.
No, it's a spoiler that they're even puzzles. I would have never known that had you told me. I would have never known this was a puzzle game. It would not have occurred to me. I am that stupid. Like, that the white thing goes across as you collect them? I thought it was time-based that it was going white. Like, I would have never known.
That's kind of the pleasant thing about this game, is that you slowly discover that it's a puzzle game. And the puzzle game is basically how to...
I'm going to spoil the next week because I'm going to talk about why I quit.
No, don't spoil the next puzzle.
Okay.
The puzzle game's neat because... Or the puzzle aspect is neat because all of the puzzles are trying to figure out whether or not there's even a puzzle to figure out kind of deal.
Oh. Well, then you've already spoiled it because I didn't know there was a puzzle.
Well, it's... hard. I'm not doing a very good job explaining it, but I feel like the puzzles are so different from each other.
Oh, okay. They are.
It's not like you're doing a reiteration of a puzzle. You're trying to figure out what game this is.
I can talk about why I quit without actually giving away the puzzle. Okay. But so then these things come out and they make different tones as you ride through them.
Yeah. And then you collect them and you solve that puzzle.
And then you go back into...
And then you go back to the hub world where you're suddenly shooting a bunch of enemies again.
And the interesting thing is, because you are so into the sound of the first puzzle, that you become overly aware of the sounds in the Pac-Man world.
Absolutely.
That was so cool until I kept dying and then I got really irritated.
This is another example of the game providing a scope change that then then informs the other scope.
Yeah. You take it with you.
There's a residual effect between these two.
But then on the next puzzle, there is no sound. And I wanted there to be because I enjoyed that so much on the other aspects that I was like, this is just... And Clyde had to finally tell me it was a puzzle. It
didn't give you enough feedback.
Yeah.
Because you need sound.
Yeah. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing here. And I didn't know it was a puzzle game. And how long do we sit in this world? There's no sound. And then you told me it was a puzzle, and I realized that I was going to have to do things that I wasn't going to get rewarded for with, in this case, sound, because I got rewarded the first game in the first puzzle with sound. And I was like, okay, this is a lot of work. I'm not doing it.
Yeah, I played through the entire game in one sitting having no intention to play through a game. And I typically don't enjoy top-down shooters like this. And I was really surprised by this one.
It was beautiful. It was really interesting. I wish I would have kept going.
Well, you can always go back and still have it.
Yeah, but I hated the shooting part. But
yeah, you got really frustrated with that.
Yeah, there's so many good aspects to it.
So let me tell you about the shooting part. After the third puzzle, going into I don't know if the map changes or not, but going into trying to find that fourth puzzle, I found this like gauntlet part you have to go through, and it was hard.
It was already hard.
It got way harder.
Especially with somebody going, maybe you should avoid the bullets. Maybe you shouldn't drive right into them.
Well, Chrissy would see 5 enemies, and instead of my method, if I see 5 enemies in a little room,
I'd be like, oh,
I'm gonna sit back, kind of like bottleneck them, and pick them off one at a time like turkeys or something. Chrissy is like, I'm gonna run through, and then I'm faster, so I'll be able to get away. But the thing she forgets is that she's going to run into 5 more and then get sandwiched.
Yeah, and you know what really helps is when someone's going, maybe you should avoid the bullets.
You know what really helps? Someone being there to take the controls when you're like, do this for me. How about that?
Fine, you win.
So I went through a gauntlet area, and it got super hard. And then, like, if I hadn't been pleasantly surprised by those puzzles and just feeling smart by figuring out what they are,
that there even are puzzles.
Yeah, I would have never had the patience to get through that gauntlet to the 4th puzzle.
You know what I wonder? I'm sorry.
Mm-mm.
Was the 4th puzzle really good?
I thought so.
Was there sound involved?
I don't remember.
You know what I wonder is how much you take for granted being a person who plays games, such as there might be puzzles. Because this happened in the next game we're talking about. Not that I'm skipping ahead. But you had to tell me what the game language was. Like, that thing is pointing you in a direction.
Let's go ahead. I don't really have anything else to say about.
Okay. But I wonder how much of that kind of...
I want to know what you're talking about because I don't remember.
Okay, so we're talking about Painted Tomb.
Painted Tomb.
Painted Tomb. Oh, Painted Tomb. Remember when you're in that area, it's got the eye and it's pointing to the direction you're going to go? That kind of stuff, like, it would never occur to me that thing was telling me what to... I wonder how much
enormous amount.
Things like there are puzzles in games. Mm-hmm. I wonder how much is just people who play games all the time know these things, and then everybody else is like, I guess I'm just gonna make noise forever in this world. Ooh, it's the next world.
Yeah, my view is that good game design kind of takes that into account, right? You want a 5-year-old to be able to.
No, I don't. I agree with what you usually say, which is like a game doesn't have to be good for everybody. Everybody doesn't have to like a game. I don't think you should have to make it so anybody could. It's not like an SOP. Somebody.
Well, I'm not going to show up at anyone's house who's not doing it. I'm just saying, I think it's good game design for people to provide an entry point to their game, something to enjoy long enough that even anyone of novice skill will want to spend enough time there to discover that there's more.
But what do people do about people like me who are so oblivious to things that are not obvious that they'll never figure out it's a puzzle game? Like, you just can't make things for oblivious people.
I suspect that you're generalizing. I feel...
If you weren't there, I would have never known.
On this particular game, yes. On these 2 particular
But
games.
I don't think they should make the game for people like me. Because I am like the 0% that's playing it.
See, I think that you end up picking up on stuff that I don't pick up on in other examples, and I just can't come up with any at the moment.
Okay, so we're talking about Painted Tomb. I'm
Yep.
going to talk about this game.
Okay.
I'm gonna tell what it's about. So there you are, riding a horse with your little buddy.
Yes. No, it's not a horse. It's
It's
a horse-like creature.
Yeah, I think it's like a unicorn.
It's a predator though, because it's got sharp teeth.
Everything's got teeth in this
Yep.
game. You are like a little thing with teeth and a pirate hat. And there's a miniature version of you with I mean, it could possibly be your child, but we're so far away from thinking about children
Yeah.
that we just assume it's your little buddy.
We kept on calling him little buddy, and I think that's worth talking about whether or not it's your child.
I didn't want to think about it because I'm so uninterested in having children that even my avatar can't have them. And I wanted to.
Well, see, I had a similar reaction.
Oh, really? I
Yeah.
didn't know if it was like the female perspective thing that you automatically assume the small person's your child.
That I assumed that the small person might supposed to be my child. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But at no point did I really feel like the small person was my child. I thought it was. I was like, okay, so in Painted Tomb, the art direction is very,
Pixely.
it's pixely. It's rough. It's got really super saturated bright colors. There's neon blinking all the time.
There's lots of things moving on the screen, but none of them affect you.
Yeah, there's a colored static.
If you
happens.
stand still, your little buddy kind of becomes static. I did that a lot today.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I stopped a lot because I played it again today because I knew we were going to talk about it.
Mhm.
And I stopped a lot to see what your little buddy did. And he kind of moves back and forth really fast and becomes static.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, and you actually kind of leave him behind if you just go.
I noticed that too.
Yeah.
I played it again today too, and I noticed the same thing. And I thought that was it was actually a neat game moment for me because okay, so the first time I rode my little horse.
Yeah, we still
as
haven't talked
creature.
about what happens in the game.
Well, we're talking about the first scene though. So the first time I rode my little creature, I was trying to figure out where the top of the map was and where the bottom was, and you in this game you can,
you can keep on going.
you can keep
forever,
on going,
ever.
and the camera will stay on the same plane, but
Yeah.
you can go
You're
off
like, "Where
into
am I?" Yeah.
infinity. So I was examining my limits
Mhm.
in the game the first time I played it.
And things are coming, and you think you're supposed to avoid them, and
Yep.
then you realize you don't have to, so you're kind of doing that.
So, but the second time I played,
And the music is really kind of awesome. You're like do 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 do. It's almost like you and your little buddy, but you're badass because it's not like happy-go-lucky music. It's more like,
it's not, yeah,
yeah,
it's not. You're right. That's
yeah.
that's an
it's a
interesting
little dark.
distinction.
Yeah, I didn't notice it until I played today, and I realized, I knew what was coming.
I know exactly what you're saying. It's like the music's like it's got enough dissonance in there where you feel a grit.
yeah. It's like you and your little buddy are badasses moving through this, horrible environment.
Yeah. So when I was playing the second time, I just went straight to where I knew I was supposed to go, and my little buddy kind of got left behind a little bit.
Mm.
And I was like, oh, no, I gotta wait up for him. So, and then he comes back up, and I was like, that was a neat little moment. Like, that's an intentional decision to
Mhm.
make him slightly slower than you. So
He is you, but small
it's more like a mini-me than
than a child.
a child. And
Yeah, because he doesn't look child. He looks like you,
he
but
looks
little.
like he's your duplicate at a smaller scale.
Yeah.
And I love the fiction of that. And
It almost makes me think of Dream High. And remember at the beginning when Flower Pot follows Susie around and dresses like her and does everything that she does
yeah.
and tries to be a clone of her?
Uh-huh.
It's almost like your little buddy is trying to be like a clone of you.
I
Your little buddy turns into Flower Pot.
I didn't see it as a hierarchy. I saw it as
Well, the size
we
kind of almost...
existed in duality. Like we existed as a pair. And
But you can potentially leave your little buddy behind. I mean, there is like
Okay,
a
that's
size
fair.
represents the
capability.
yeah.
That's
Yeah.
fair. That's fair.
Okay, so you're riding through the cool environment, the pixely environment.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and you guys go to your house, and then you leave your horses outside,
Yeah.
and you go in the house. Okay, and this is an important distinction. When you go in the house, when you control yourself going into the house, it's your big guy goes in first, right?
Yeah, and then you become the little guy.
But you're already the little guy. But you only have the only control that then matters on the screen is the little guy, and so it's like then you as the little guy
Again, you're
goes in.
representing, I guess, what's important, because you're not going to put the little guy in first. You're going to put the big guy in first, even though you can control them both at the same time.
I don't see them as being important. That's the word that
Okay. Who is dominant in the relationship? I'm telling you, it's a Susie Flower Pot. Because you would have never occurred to put, even if you could control them both at the same time, it would have never occurred to you to put the little guy in first.
Okay, but that's what's wrong with me.
Well, that's what they did it on purpose. Maybe, I don't know. I'm speculating.
I just don't. I want to disagree with you, and I want to explain how I feel about it.
I'm ready. Disagree.
I did not see this pairing as being one superior to the other, though I did.
This is my after effect opinion of why little buddy did what he did. This is all me projecting on how could he have done that to us.
Well, we have different ideas of what little buddy did or did not do. So this is
me trying to figure out where the relationship went wrong. Why would he do this?
So I didn't see dominance, but I did see nurturing. I do think that the bigger one does take care of the little one, but I still feel like it's almost like I can't think of a pairing in real life. It appeared to me to be a part of this fantasy world where the creatures of this fantasy world almost have, it's kind of like having a spirit animal that's always with you.
Your little buddy.
Your little buddy? Yeah, but it's like you're not an individual. You are a pair.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you go inside, and the interesting thing about when you go inside is that the controls are opposite.
Yeah.
It has to be an intentional decision.
It's what was interesting when I played again. I noticed. Okay, so order of playing. I played it alone. I watched Chrissy play. Then I played it alone again.
And then I played it again.
Alone.
Yeah.
Okay, so when I played it, I didn't notice that the controls were backwards when you go in the house. When Chrissy played it, that's the first thing she says. Oh, that's weird. The controls are backwards.
Mm-hmm.
And then, after the dream sequence, she says, oh, the controls are right again.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was really odd, and I paid attention to it when I played it again alone.
Do you have an interpretation?
No.
Because I know there's got to be one.
Part of the oddity to me was that I had decided to explain it to myself that the controls were backwards as being like kind of like you're in a first-person camera, and so by pressing left, you're looking right.
But you move right. You're not even looking.
Well, see, I thought that was a matter of using the particular engine. You know what I'm saying? But then you come out of that,
and then everything is
normal.
Then
everything is normal, and so.
So you go in the house and you go to bed, and there's a big bed and a little bed right next to it.
Oh, it's adorable.
It's so cute. Your little buddy is the best part. It's
It was adorable.
Cute.
It was so good. Like the first act was so amazing to me.
Yeah.
Because of little buddy and how everything's in a pair.
Yeah, and you just feel like, you know how you're talking about being in the woods and you're with people? I felt it with little buddy. He was my best little friend. We did stuff together. Everything was great. And that is
established really quickly.
Yeah. He does a really good job. Man, the betrayal hurts so bad.
Little buddy did not betray
Yes,
us.
He did. So you have a dream, and it's interesting. You go in the dream, and there's like, I don't understand the mushroom part of the dream, but there are like headstones coming at you.
Yeah. Rest in peace on them.
Yeah, so you find, I'm going to summarize, spoiler alert. You find your little buddy, I think, in the fire, and he's crying.
Yeah.
And then
you wake up.
And there's fire in the house. And the first thing you did.
Oh, the first thing I did was look around for little buddy.
Yeah, you have to find him.
I was, because he wasn't there.
Yeah, you're like, where the fuck is little buddy?
Where's little buddy? I'm not leaving the house without little buddy.
I mean, he's my best friend in the house, so I just had a dream about this. But you go outside.
And there's footprints.
What the fuck? Why didn't little buddy wake you up? That was my reaction.
That was Chrissy's reaction. In fact, okay, so after when you leave the house, you retrace the path of the very first part of the game, going all the way back to the beginning of that scene.
Following little sooty footprints.
Following the footprints. And the entire time Chrissy's going, why'd he leave me there? Why didn't he wake me up?
I mean, he knew there was a fire.
Like, I've heard stories of a cat waking you up.
And here's where it gets really interesting. Today, this game got released. We played this before the game came out. And so we couldn't read what the description was.
Yeah.
And you know how Clyde doesn't like to read descriptions.
Mm-hmm.
And so the description was act of betrayal.
That was part of the description.
I had to call Clyde as soon as I read that. I knew little buddy freaking left us in the house. I knew it.
I mean, I'm not saying that your interpretation is a...
Oh, the betrayal hurts so bad.
A really great one. Like, I really enjoy it. It's thought-provoking.
But...
Well, it's not the same... It's not the one I have, but I don't think that mine's right and yours wrong.
Well, I'd like to hear your interpretation. Lay it on me.
It's... Okay, so... What reading that description did for me was I focused on the vengeance portion of it.
Yeah, you gotta get little bitty back. Fuck him. He left us in the house to die.
Wait, which is it, Chrissy?
No.
Do you have to get him back? Or do you have to destroy him?
I meant back by destroy him. You gotta get him back as in you have to do
it.
Not as in I need him again.
For me, the entire game, I'm trying to find little buddy. Like, it turns into the magic flute for me.
Yeah, I don't understand, honestly, what happens after the betrayal.
I don't understand, honestly, what happens after you leave the flaming house either. But after reading that description, the way I kind of see the game is, okay, so you trace the footsteps, it takes you into like a wilderness kind of thing, where there's a house with a giant bug.
Well, first you find a cat.
Well, when I played, I first found the giant bug.
Oh, okay.
And then I found a cat with a thorn in its paw.
Yes.
Interestingly, when you find the cat before the bug, there's no thorn in its paw.
Yeah, I found the cat first. There was no thorn. It's like a giant stuffed animal bear, but with a cat head.
Yeah, in front of a tomb.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, things are dark here. Yes. Like there's black ghosts. There's dark music. Yep. You're pissed.
Oh, I totally forgot
Fucking
about the
little
black
buddy
ghosts.
has done fucked up.
You're on the wrong side of the tracks at that point.
Yeah, you are. You're mad. This is the vengeance part.
So, when you...
Oh, yeah. So you found the bug.
Oh, yeah. I found the bug, and it's like... Okay, so the first time I played the game, I was like, okay, that's a bug. Completely uninteractable. Interactive-able. And then I go and find the thorn in the paw of the cat. Mm-hmm. And you take the thorn out. Mm-hmm. And then...
It automatically...
You don't journey to that bug house again.
It journeys you.
You are in... It's like you blacked out. You done blacked out.
Oh, yeah.
And did something. Okay? And that's...
Oh, I didn't think about that.
And that did something is... Yeah, I think it's just blind rage. You destroy the bug.
You kill that... Okay, so it drove me crazy, the cat with the thorn. The cat with the thorn, I thought about it so much.
Chrissy did some research. And I'm about to hear about it for the first time.
Yeah. It seems so symbolic. When things seem really... I was getting loud, that's why. When things seem really symbolic in games, I'm like, I gotta figure it out. It's a puzzle. We're playing yellow wallpaper. So there has to be... I found the cat. I found the bug. I took the thorn out of the cat and killed the bug. So I remember that there was like that Aesop's fable about taking the thorn out of the cat, but I thought the cat killed you. But that's like the snake story where you rescue the snake and then the snake's
like, I'm a snake.
Yeah. I found that one today too. But this is the cat story as summarized by the internet.
By Yahoo Answers.
About.com, if you will. This is my paraphrasing of about.com's paraphrasing.
This is my BuzzFeed top 10 list of what happens in the Lion story.
But to be fair, I did have a book of Aesop's fables when I was a kid, so I have read it probably once in my life. So doesn't that make me legitimate? So apparently, the dude takes the thorn out.
The mouse.
I don't. About didn't say that.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh, but you already know. Oh, I don't know stuff. So you take the thorn out. You wrap it up. The lion gets really into you, and you guys are friends. And then you get captured, and they.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and they starve the lion for a couple of days.
They starve the lion,
and then they put you.
You both get captured.
Yeah.
Okay, this is not in the game. This is the fable.
Yeah, and then you get put in an arena for the cat to
What?
kill you. Yeah, have you been listening to me tell you this story? So you heal the cat. You guys become BFFs. And then
get captured
you
with
get
the lion.
captured with
they
the lion.
starve the lion, put you in an arena. They starved it so it would eat you.
Yes.
Wow.
And then the cat's coming at you, and it's like what just happened in Jekyll, Hyde and Me, where the cat went to him.
Lurches?
Yeah, and then like
Lunges?
smells him, and it's like his best friend, and licks him. And then, like, the Emperor's all impressed or whatever, so you get to go free.
Wow, that's what happens in the fable.
That's what happens in the fable.
Okay, so how does that connect to
I got
Painted
nothing.
Tomb?
You were supposed to tell me. You're the smart one. I'm the one that reads things.
Yeah, I don't know. Okay, yes, the thorn in the paw totally made me think of that fable, except for apparently I didn't actually know what happened in that fable, except for that the thorn is removed from the paw.
it wasn't a mouse in this one.
So the way I saw the game was that you take the thorn and kill the bug with it.
That's probably right.
Okay, but also...
Wow, you and your blind rage.
You're going into the tomb that the cat... So, okay, remember that the cat with a thorn in it is a barrier to the tomb.
Okay, because I don't know what that means. I couldn't figure out where to go today. Without you telling me, I had no idea
really?
what to do after I did the bug thing.
Okay, yeah.
And I couldn't remember how we did it when you were with me, and then I couldn't remember what happened next.
The cat is in front of a tomb door.
Ah.
And when you...
Is that the painted tomb that we've heard
Yes.
so much about? Okay.
And you go into the tomb, and that's when you go through the cavern area. So, I don't think... Okay. I guess we'll wait till... I have something to say about this, but I'll wait till we finish talking about what happens in the game.
Well, I don't remember anything else. You jumped some.
Then you go through the caverns, and you see apparitions that are not interactivable.
I don't think anything is interactable.
Well, like taking the thorn out of the paws.
Oh, yeah.
So,
what was the sound like at this point? Do you remember?
I don't remember. And I also need to mention that the second time I played the game, it felt like the bug was laughing at me when I went in.
Really?
Yeah, because it kind of like moves in this way, and I was not offering that up. I was not going in there and saying,
I'm going to pay attention to the bug.
Yeah, I'm going to pay attention to how the bug's acting. It was after having played the game and after having read the description of what the game's about, when I went into that room, I felt like the bug was laughing at me, which I thought was pretty cool.
Interesting.
So then, you go through the cavern, jump on some mushrooms,
you jump on the walls, right?
You jump on mushrooms which have porous clouds, actually.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. You have to jump.
Yeah, there's spore clouds or something.
Yeah.
So you're probably inhaling something at that point. And then,
they said ideas of moving on. I wonder, there's mushrooms, like, all throughout the game.
There are mushrooms all throughout the game.
Sorry to interrupt you, go ahead.
And so then you end up in a single screen with a couple of items that I'm not sure what they are. I think one's like a paw print, a sailing ship, an Oz head, and a lightning bolt. And when you jump up onto the sailing ship and onto like a cloud or something, you can then jump into the Oz head, and at that point it appears that you are burning in the Eye of Oz.
I wonder if you're remembering the betrayal of Little Bunny.
Okay, so now that we've described everything that happens in the game, I want to say something about it.
Okay, I'm ready.
I see this game as having 3 acts. The first act is hanging out with Little Buddy.
Man, times are good.
Times are good, but then having the dream sequence where you're in a hypnagogic state, and you realize something's wrong,
Mhm.
and it's that your buddy's on fire or whatever, and then you wake up and the house is on fire, and you escape, and then follow the footprints looking for Buddy. That I see as being one
But
act.
you never find him.
You never find him. So that's the first act to me. The second act to me is the bug, the
revenge.
Yeah,
Blind rage.
the bug, the thorn in the paw of the thing, and all that happening. And then the third act is going through what I assume is the painted tomb, and seeing the apparitions, jumping across the mushrooms, finding the Oz head, and assumably being destroyed in his eyes. Right, in the reflection of his eyes. What?
Oh, because of the fire.
Yeah, it looks like you're on fire, and it looks like it's a reflection.
I see. Okay.
So,
I wish I would have gotten to that part.
But I don't know if, yeah, it could be like you were saying that it's the memory. Okay, but my point is, all three of these feel like separate fables. All three of these feel like they are all separate, prompts for thought. Like they're narrative prompts. It's like you feel like something has happened narratively, but you can't really pin down exactly what happened, but it feels like something happened.
Yeah.
There's three of them. There's 3 times that I feel, okay, something totally just happened, but I don't really feel like those 3 things connect. And I wonder if that's intentional. I wonder if the idea was, if I take 3 fables and put them next to each other, will it create a cone of a sort?
Yeah, because I totally agree with you. I couldn't figure out, until they wrote that description today, I didn't even know if they were supposed to be related.
Yeah.
The first part of the game and the second part of the game. And it's funny because we were just talking about that last week, how people's descriptions are useful and they're not just press was.
That's true.
But
it totally changed the way I saw this game when I played it after the description.
Yeah, I wanted to play it again after I read the description.
But you couldn't find the tomb.
But you're right. They do feel separate. And I couldn't figure out how they were connected either. But it feels intentional. Yeah.
So it's interesting. It's an interesting game.
Game.
One thing I want to say about Painted Tomb is that fucking character design, yo. I'm serious. That is some of the best character design I have seen in a long time.
Why do you say that?
There's some... I mean...
What do you have?
I'm sure that it has to... If you consider the pairing itself as character design, then it's really fantastic. There's just something really cool to me about that particular character design. Having those 2 blue people with the red hats, predator teeth, neon green gums, bloodshot eyes.
But they were just like hanging out, having fun together.
Who jump on mushrooms and ride purple people eaters. Like, it was just, that doesn't come from nowhere, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's awesome. That was I just want to say I really like that.
Okay.
I want to see those characters in more games.
Yeah. So all in all, this week all these games are pretty long. But really interesting, especially the sounds. Is there anything else you want to say before we wrap it up?
Let's see, we talked about Wilbur Park.
Yeah.
We talked about Way to Go.
Yeah.
We talked about Cart.
Yeah.
We talked about Painted Tomb.
Yeah.
I had a really good time playing these games.
Yeah, I did too. And, you know, the thing was, though...
I mean, these were some really good games.
We played a lot of good games this week. We didn't play a lot of games because all of them were so long. I was done playing by the time we were finished with them, but they were all really good quality games.
Yeah, gosh, it's fucking amazing that, I mean, Cart didn't come out this week, but I think the other 3 did.
Oh, Cart didn't come out this week?
No, it came out in July.
Oh, no way.
Yep.
Did you just not play it?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
And so it's crazy to me that so much stuff is coming out within a week that we didn't play everything. I'm sure there's awesome stuff that came out this week that we didn't play.
Yeah, we actually played. We did play a lot more
Jake
than
Clover game came out this
I know,
week.
right? We played a lot of games that we didn't talk about. There was a lot of games. There's a lot of. I have a Tumblr site for our podcast, and I'm a Tumblr person, so I check Tumblr like constantly. And so the people I follow bleed through to my real site. So I get the updates of Warped Door games that come out.
Yeah.
And I can't believe how many games come out. Like, we would never be. I can't believe there's so many. I wonder how many are played. And it's interesting because it took me a really long time to come to this conclusion with other things. Like, it took me a long time to find out there's a ton of artists in the world, but you can't see their art until the internet came out, and then you can, I guess a lot of people, the internet was already out, but, you get to see everybody's art. And that's the same thing. It was like last year, I had always been reading published books, and it took me until last year to find out that, like, there's a ton of writers, and you can find all of their work online, and it's really good. There's a lot of really good writers, and now I'm finding that out with games, like, there's a lot of people making really great games, and you don't have to go to GameStop to find them all. So I'm really excited to see all the games that come out. The only problem I have is that I hate sitting at the computer. I wish they would all come out on the tablet.
Well, there's probably a tablet scene. It's just I'm not a tablet person, so I'm not looking for it.
Yeah, I got to figure out the tablet scene.
The tablet scene.
The tablet scene. Or maybe the laptop. I could do some laptop stuff.
But
anyway, yeah.
It was just a really good week for short free games.
All right. Well, I hope lots of good games come out this week, too.
Yeah, me too.
We'll see you guys later.
Bye.